That's more like it. Notice anything new? Got a new office. Got space. I can mocap now. Welcome back, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. A few of you have asked how I rigged and set up my models for my Marvel Rivals short. Today, I'll walk you through the process from start to finish so that you're ready to animate in no time. This process is fairly simple because the tool that I'll be using automatically detects the skeleton that's being used. The skeleton it's recognizing is the Unreal Engine skeleton. When the tool recognizes this, it automatically connects its system to the UE system. So in theory, any tool that recognizes the skeleton can be used. Today, I'll be using Advanced Skeleton. To download that, either find it on the Autodesk plugin page or download it directly from them and install it following their instructions. Downloading it directly from them is the better option though, as it makes updating a lot cleaner and easier. I'll put the links to both in the description below. Let's start by downloading our model. I've already downloaded mine from this DeviantArt page here, Wolfblade 111. All you need to do is make an account for free and then you'll be able to hit download. Once that downloads, unzip the file and put that folder wherever your project files live. So here in Maya, it's time to import. All I'm gonna do to import is click and drag the FBX file that was in that folder we just downloaded into Maya's viewport and let it do its thing. So now that we have it all imported, it's a crazy mess with a bunch of joints. So let's put textures on and I am only gonna look at the geometry for right now. It's a little dark just due to normals. You could do two-sided lighting. It doesn't really do too much. So you could do flat lighting and that looks a lot like the game. After importing our FBX, let's open up Advanced Skeleton and see what we can do. So our next step, we're gonna go over to body. Right here under fit, there is biped. We're gonna leave that alone and we're just gonna hit import. What that's gonna do is import the Advanced Skeleton system into our file. But you'll see that an external skeleton was detected. So because we already had this in, it knows that we want to attach it. So yes, we want to align joints with the skeleton. Now this is saying, hey, top level geometry objects, these should be grouped as the model. So we're gonna hit okay. And we wanna reset joints to bind pose? Yes, we do. One skinned object with non-default transform values detected. Reset transforms. This we will want to do. It's a little tricky. You might not see much of a difference when we're doing these, but it's a lot of back end that is going to help us out, say when we bring it into Unreal. So we're gonna hit okay and then proceed to build Advanced Skeleton and attach. Yes, we want to do that. So now it's gonna go through the process. And if I turn on curves, you see we have a whole entire rig ready to animate. Now, it doesn't look like there's a lot of controllers. That's because our Hulk character is so big. So if we turn on X-ray, there's all our controllers. So one thing that we'll probably want to do is scale these up. So to scale up our controllers, let's just select all of these for now. And we are gonna hit this up here, select by component type. What that's gonna do, if we turn on CVs, is going to put CVs for everything here. So we can select. If we hit R, it's gonna bring us to scale. Now, if we scale like this, it's all sorts of wrong. It's all sorts of out of place. So if we hold down R, left click, it brings up this wheel and we're gonna go to component. That's gonna look and at each component and scale outwards from that. So if we scale now, it's in place. Now I like to put X-ray off for this. And that's looking pretty good for the spine. So let's jump out of this and we can go back and just look at the arms now. I'm just isolating, selecting, so it's a little bit easier. That works for that. The clavicles, we could probably do a little bit more. So if we select and we do again that select by component type, scale that up. Our neck is still hidden, so let's scale up the neck. And in our case with the neck, it's still pretty hidden, so we can move this. Now, keep in mind, this is not moving the pivot of the controller itself. This is only moving the CVs. so where it is displayed. The pivot is still where we want the pivot. If we took a controller and just scaled like this, it's going to scale our character, which we don't want to do. Maybe in animation we want to do that, but we don't want to do that right now. So we can look at the feet here, scale those up. And then something, if you have a very big character like the Hulk, these are little switches here that blend from FK to IK. We will want to move these just so they're not hidden in the leg. So I just pull these out. There's one for the leg, there's one for the hips here, and there's two for the arms. So I just like to pull these out like so. Now, just to make sure we have everything set, we are actually going to change these to FK, and we'll change this to IK, and also change the spine to IK. That way, we can do the controllers that we need here. There we go. Scale those up. And we're going to have the legs here. Scale those up. And our spine. And there we have it. We have our Hulk rig ready to go. Set up with controllers. Advanced Skeleton has some really cool mocap attaching tools that make it very easy, again, if it recognizes the skeleton. And that's why I like to use that, because it is very convenient. Now, while Advanced Skeleton does recognize the body skeleton, it does not recognize the face skeleton. That is something that is separate, and I have found in between characters, it varies a little bit. It's similar setup, but sometimes the joints are just in different positions. So to set up our controllers for our face, we unfortunately have to do that manually. It's not too long of a process, but it is a little bit more tedious. Again, there are joints here, so we're not making it from scratch, but we do have to go through that process. Now, if you don't need any face animation and you just need the body animation, then at this point you're all set. You can skip the next part. But for the most part, if a character has a face, we're gonna wanna have some sort of expression. So let's dive into the face rigging. I'm gonna close Advanced Skeleton because at this point we don't need it. So let's go through the skeleton structure. Let's find the actual face hierarchy. So we'll just keep opening these up. We have all the spine here, spine, clavicle, here's our neck. And under head, we have facial master. And these are where all of our joints live. It's a lot of joints. I'm gonna hide the joints so that way we could see what is kind of going on. So there's a couple different setups here that are a little tricky. If I move the jaw, it moves the chin. And at first I thought, okay, this is broken. This isn't ready to use, but that's not the case. So when we use a jaw controller, usually it opens the mouth, it opens the bottom lips. And right now it doesn't do that because there's actually no other joints connected to it. The joints for the bottom lip are just not hooked up yet. So if we have lip, lower lip, outer, lower lip, you can see here, we're starting to get that. So how do we go about this? Well, let's start easy with the brows. So if I see we have left brow 2, left brow 3, and left brow, we have the same for the right brow. And then usually there is a center brow. Here we go. So we need 7 controllers in general. So let's go to create. We're going to create a NURB circle. This is going to be the basis of all of our rigs. Now, one thing I do like to do is I like to split my viewport. If you go here, it gives you 2 panes like this. And if I go to panels, under panel, there's outliner. I like to have 2 outliners because this is so long. This is really easy to set up and view. Now, if I go to modify, there's something called match transformations. We're gonna click this and we're gonna dock this up here. We're gonna be using this a lot. So let's start with the center brow. I'm selecting my NURBS curve here, and I'm going to control select center brow, and we're going to match the translation. Let's only match the translation. I'm actually going to rotate this 90 degrees. I'd say that's a pretty good size. We can scale it like that. Now, from here, I'm going to duplicate this 6 times. And now we're just going to do the same process, just going down the list of the left brow and then the right brow. So now that we have these, I am going to do the same thing. I'm going to select all of these, hit component, and I'm just going to move these out. Now, if I hold down W and go to component, it will move them via their component space. So this is pretty nice. I think the outer ones could come out, so let's only select those and move those out just a little further. And if we want to have them be a different color, I like to put them just into a group here. If we double click it, we can select a color here. And now they are that color. I'm just gonna go in and name these. Let's make sure that, yes, okay. Okay, so with our controllers named, they're moved out, they are in the same position, at least their pivots are. We're just gonna freeze the transformations. We are going to delete by type history. And now we are ready to parent these. So I'm going to select the controller, and we are going to parent the joint to the controller because we want our control to drive our motion. So select the controller, select the center brow. We're going to maintain the offset and hit apply. If you hit add, it closes down. So I just like to hit apply because we're going to be doing this a lot. So now we could just go down the list accordingly. There we go. So now if we move our controllers, it is moving our brows. But if we move our head, we get this craziness because the joints are parented to the controller. The controllers are sitting in world space. So how do we get around that? Well, I like to create a group. We're going to call this face controls. And we can put this into the overall group of the advanced skeleton. Doesn't really matter exactly where we do it. And what we're going to do is we're going to select our head control, control select face controls, and we are going to parent constrain that. So now that is following what we need. And one thing just to keep in mind, if you scale it up, it's not going to scale properly. So how do we do that? Well, we can select this, control select, and do a scale constraint. So now this scales properly. Isn't that weird? So now that the brows are done, we can move on to the rest of the face. It's the same process. We're going to be creating controllers, snapping their positions, parenting the joints, and making sure it's all set. Let's go with the mouth next because that is a little bit of a different setup. So to start out, let's create another NURB circle. And this curve is going to be our jaw. So let's snap the position. I am just going to rotate this to kind of match the jaw control, and we can scale this accordingly. We'll freeze this transformation later. Let's create another one, and these will be our mouth controls. So let's see, we have left lip corner, left lip lower corner, left lip outer, which doesn't seem to do much. Okay, so I'm just gonna hide the joints that don't really seem to be doing much. Yeah, okay. All right, let's go down. I'm not entirely sure why these joints are in there. Were they just duplicated by accident? It's possible. But for our needs, it makes it a little bit easier because we don't have to do as much. Okay, now we have our upper lip. And we have our lower lip over here. Lower lip outer doesn't seem to be doing much. Great. And the teeth part we're going to also be doing. So the whole entire mouth. So let's start with the actual lip corners. We'll just go with the left ones first. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm just gonna rename this right now. That way I know what that one. We're gonna have 4 for the right because that matches that, yep. And then we have our lower lip, our upper lip, and our teeth. Great. So we have all of our controls essentially set. So now we are just going to match translations. And we'll fix the rotations afterwards. But okay, lower lip. Upper lip. And we have upper teeth and lower teeth. And teeth we'll save for after because those will be a slightly different rotation. So we're going to rotate these 90. We'll isolate select, hit component select. And again, component move, make sure that's all good. And we'll scale these via component. And that's feeling pretty good controller wise. That's a pretty good size. Move them in a little bit more. That's pretty nice. And we can add all of these to our layer to make them that different color. So going down the list, we're just going to name these L lip corner controller. This is lower corner. Okay, now we have lower lip. Okay, so everything is named. Let's select these. We're going to freeze our transformations. We're going to delete by type history. You're going to save. Now we get to parent everything. So let's open up our window again and just parent accordingly. Now let's do the teeth. Scale these. We don't have to scale these out actually too much. We can scale them out if we wanted to see them peek through. It's a little bit easier to just find when you're animating. So, upper teeth and our lower teeth. We'll do the same, freeze transformations, delete by type history, and let's just parent these accordingly. So now that this is all set up, while our controller moves the jaw, it's still not moving all that stuff. Well, we just have to do a little funky setup, and it's really not too bad. So again, if we open up our jaw, our lower lip is moving. So let's get all of the controllers that are on that lower lip, and we're just going to middle mouse drag onto the jaw. So now all those controllers are under the jaw controller. So if we move the jaw controller, it now moves that. And I'm realizing that these corners can probably be pulled out. So I'm middle mouse dragging and pulling them out. Now, and it's important to keep in mind, when you middle mouse drag these out, if you go over something, it's just going to put it underneath that. But if you get that line in between, it's going to just put it into the outliner, not underneath another controller or group. So now, if I mess with my jaw again, that's a little more like it, but the teeth are still missing. So let's put the lower teeth under the jaw as well. And there we go. That's a lot better. The other thing we'll have to do is the tongue. So let's create a new circle. There's 3 tongues here, 3 tongue controllers. So let's just match positions. We're going to rotate them 90. Components select. And scale these accordingly. Nah, I think that should be fine. So now let's add these to the display layer. Let's freeze transformations, delete by type history. This is going to be tongue 02, tongue 3, and tongue. Now for this, we'll want to have an FK setup. So this is our base, so all of these are going to go underneath. I'm just middle mouse dragging on top of each other. So now that all works like that. Let's parent these up quick. And now it moves the tongue. And the tongue needs to go under the jaw. So now, if we open this up, we have our face rig working properly. The only other thing that we have to do are the eyes or the eyeballs. Luckily, this is just a color, so really we just need the blink. So if we do blink, this is pretty much one joint that goes down. They keep it very simple in video game. There's also the eyeball, so that would be used to rotate. So you could kind of see it here. So let's set that up anyways. So we're gonna have 4 controllers here. There'll be the eyeball and then the blink. So eyeball, let's match that translation, eye blink, and we'll just do the left for right now, and then we'll move to the right afterwards. I'll go 90. Now, I'm gonna do these separately because the eyeball should be out the most. And the blink controller, it can be out, but we can kind of squish it just to make it a little bit different. Let's just bring it down slightly. So I'm actually going to duplicate these for the right because we want some consistency in the controllers themselves. So let's go to the right. This is the right blink. We're just going to snap it to the translation and the ball to the translation. So now if we parent these, now they're all set. The one thing to keep in mind with the eyeball, you don't want to translate this because this will literally just translate the whole entire eyeball. We want to just rotate because it has the correct pivot to rotate, to look down, to look sideways. So just keep that in mind. And then the blink, just move down, move up. Let's add the controllers to our layer and let's bring all of these controllers under our face controls group. That way they all follow the head control while we move and while we scale. So now that we have the eyebrows, the eyes, and the mouth all set up with the jaw, the only other thing that I would really add is the nose. The nose is going to be really simple. So let's do that really quick, but then we're going to be finished after the nose. So there should be about 3 controllers. I see left nose. So it's this kind of nostril. There is right nose. And then just nose. There also is a lower nose. I guess we could add that as well. Let's see if there's any other. It looks like that's it. I was trying to look to see if there was a bridge of the nose, but I don't see anything. No. Okay. So we have lower nose, nose, and then the right and left nose. So let's set that up quick. So left nose, right nose, nose, and all right, let's do lower nose. Actually, let's just go down in order of what comes first. And that actually kind of works. I'm not going to really move them any further. And all we have to do now is just parent our controllers. Add these so they're the same color, and we can just move this under face controls. And now all of this is set to animate. So you can see how easy this really is to set up. The body takes literally just a matter of minutes, 5 minutes maybe. The face is a little bit more tedious just because you have to find all of the controllers, line them up, move them around. But even under, looking at my time here, I'd say about 30 minutes, under 30 minutes, we have connected a whole entire controller setup with the face ready to go. Now this is because it was already skinned. The skeleton and the geometry is already set up. The hardest part was already done for us. This is just connecting a control rig for us to animate and make some cool stuff. Let me know if you found this useful. Are you going to be creating some Marvel Rivals shorts? If you are, let me know. I'd love to see what you guys are working on. And keep a lookout for my Marvel Rivals compositing video coming up soon, where I'll be going in depth, step by step, my compositing setup in Blender. And for more videos of how to animate cars, bipeds, use motion capture, animate cameras, check out the videos here. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.